Everyone in trading says you need to learn from your losses, learn from your mistakes, and apply lessons learned from those losses and mistakes to your trading moving forward. But no one talks about how actually really hard this is to do and how much time it takes. Trading is about probabilities. And you need a large sample size of something before you can really extrapolate meaningful conclusions to help with your trading. Right? You need many, many trades of doing the same thing, potentially the same mistake over and over and over and over again until you have enough data where you can look at it and you can actually say, this is a mistake, I need to stop doing this thing. Until then, you're making the same mistake over and over again. The other thing that I find is what really makes it hard is that market conditions are different every single day. There's different, not only the market conditions are different, the news reports are different, tweets are different. And I almost never see the same thing twice. I do see similarities. I recognize patterns. That's what my trading is based off of. That's a lot of trading is patterns. But the context is different. And every time I take a loss and I think I have a lesson learned from that loss, it really seems like I just never see that same thing again. Sometimes it's never, but sometimes it might be many weeks, it might be months before I see the same thing even come up again. And by then, I usually forget whatever the lesson learned was last time I did this thing, last time I was presented with a certain setup or a certain context or whatever. And I end up making the same mistake again. And then sometimes mistakes work out. Sometimes you get lucky, you do something wrong, and the trade works. And maybe you don't even learn anything from it. Or maybe the next time you see the same setup, you take the trade, you make the same mistake you made last time, even though the probabilities are actually against you. All of these things make it really hard to apply lessons learned and learn from your mistakes. This morning, I took a trade and I felt like I made a mistake on it. It's something I haven't seen in a while. The market was trending. A lot of March has been ranging. And so I looked back at my recording of my trading session and I even said before I entered the trade, I said, this is where I want to set my TP, which means for me, that means coming in with a limit order because the levels were tight. Because I don't do a risk to reward less than 1, that means sometimes price needs to come up, fill me, and then that way there's room for the trade to move and hit my TP. So I knew that. But for some reason, I didn't do it because this is a market, this context, these market conditions, it's just something a little bit different from what I've seen recently. And I probably forgot. That I really need to make sure I do my TP this way. If I did, I would have had a winning trade. Instead, I had a losing trade today. There's probably been times in the past where I did it the way I did it this morning and it worked out. Recently, last week, there was a trade idea that I targeted similarly to the way I did today, and that trade worked. So different market conditions, it's different context from what I've seen recently, and what I did today was similar to a trade idea from last week that worked. So I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about, it's really hard actually to take lessons learned from every single trade and then apply it moving forward. And then sometimes there's just nothing to learn from a loss. Sometimes it's just probabilities working out. The trade just didn't work. And that's another reason that makes it hard, is that you just don't know. You don't know if you made a mistake or if it's just probabilities working out. So yeah, it's really common advice given on the internet see your losses as valuable information and make sure you learn something from them and everything. And it seems so easy, but actually, it's actually really hard. And the reasons I said are just a few reasons why. So anyways, if you're like me and you're beating yourself up over a mistake you made, you know, give yourself some grace. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to look at it and say, well, I don't even know if it was a mistake. It's not that 100% clear. It's easy in hindsight to say, oh, I should have done it this way because the trade didn't work out, obviously. But if the trade did work out, I probably wouldn't be calling it a mistake. So anyway, just some thoughts. Give yourself grace. And I feel like the only thing you can do is just try to be a little bit better every day.